Welcome to another mini edition of the Penciled In podcast. I am producer Petter, as everyone knows by now. So, this particular episode is going to be more of a catch-up episode, if you will, looking back at what happened at Futureshock as well as Catch. So obviously I am here. We were meant to have recorded last week, but obviously illness and just things getting in the way, planning kind of went astray. So we are hoping to try and do another episode sometime this week. However, because there is so much to get through, we are going to go straight into a kind of like a show review, if you like. So, as I say, this episode we are covering that of Futureshock Double Down and Catch Pro Wrestling New ART RIOT. So, we will start off with the show that was the furthest back, and that was Futureshock's Double Down, taking place at the Stockport Guildhall. And the card itself looked amazing. So let's see if that's how it panned out. The first contest we had saw a tag team encounter featuring debutantes to the Futureshock show in Hamza Moza and Mo Akhtar. Apologies on pronunciation, it is not my thing. Or NGR, as they are better known as they mostly wrestle over at PPW in Yorkshire. Their opponents were everyone's favourite foils, I suppose it's one way to put them. That being Jensen Vesper and Peter Sador, everyone's second favourite Canadian. I'll kind of let you guess who everyone's favourite Canadian is. Before the match started, though, we saw Vesper and Sador come out with tag team titles, which had been beautifully crafted, I have to say, to look like the old John Cena spinner belts, which had their own specific face on them. So Vesper had one with Vesper's face, and Sador had one with Sador's face, which I tried my best not to laugh, but I genuinely couldn't keep it in. I found it extremely funny and entertaining, so shame on me for feeling that way. The match itself was a really solid opener, to be fair. NRG kind of got the start of the match. Looked pretty impressive, I have to say. Then had, obviously, Vesper and Sador taking over as the heels got the better of things for pretty much most of the match. Akhtar was the one that was pretty much being isolated from his tag partner. The end of the match saw a super kick from Sador to his tag team partner in Vesper, or it might have been the other way around. Probably the other way around. Probably was Vesper kicking Sador. It was, because I remember now. Apologies, I have slept. So Vesper super kicks Sador, who was holding, I believe, Akhtar. That meant that Vesper was all on his own. NRG got Vesper up for the high voltage tag team move, and the debutants pick up a win on their first trip at Futureshock. Really entertaining match. Hopefully we get NRG back, because it is, despite having a fair few debutants this year at Futureshock, Does feel like we have had quite a lot. Pretty much most of them have come kind of from PPW, it's felt. And every single time, it's the fans have very quickly latched onto him, which is always a good sign. You don't want to have kind of new people come into a company and there's no kind of like the crowd don't get behind them. I can't think of one off the top of my head where that's happened to. However, this was not the case. The crowd was right behind NRG. They were chanting him pretty much the entire match, which you don't normally get at Stockport, I feel. Saying that, Stockport is probably a more noisier crowd than Manchester for certain reasons. But the match itself, really enjoyable. Hopefully we get NRG back. Vesper and Sidor doing their bit as well. They are arguably the most entertaining team that cannot win. I will say that. Every time you see him on a card, there is a kind of reaction of, oh god. But at the same time, when they are in the ring, you can't take your eyes off them. Obviously, because you're watching the match, which is a stupid thing to do, Peter. But they're always entertaining. They know how to get the fans involved, whether that's Vesper being booed or being called Jason Scooter. Sidor, who I will say now, when he eventually, because I imagine he will, when the time comes for him to be a good guy, I so want to be there when it happens, because as a heel, he is so good at talking to the crowd, and some of the stuff he comes out with is funny as hell. So to see him when he kind of flips will be interesting. But I digress. Let's move to the next match, which was Tony Wright, the leading man, taking on Dynamite, Lee Dawson. It's rare that you tend to get good guy and good guy, but there was at least a story behind it. The story being that Tony Wright and Scott Oberman are in one of the most epic rivalries I feel that I've seen anywhere for that matter. I'll come to that rivalry in a wee bit, so stick a pin in it. It's Oberman beating Dawson, I believe it was the last show, and obviously Wright wanting to kind of like almost competitive, friendly rivalry, if you want to call it that. Wright then faced Dawson, thinking, well, if Scott can do it, I can do it. Dawson, obviously not wanting to be anyone's kind of second, so to speak, put up a hell of a fight against Wright. Wright gave it equally as back to Dawson. This was a really good match. I think it was Tony said he really enjoyed this match. It won't be the only time that these two would meet in a ring over the week. Yeah, another pin to stick in there. The match itself, so good. Really enjoyed it. The match came to an end with Tony Wright hitting a feint of fame, I believe it's called. The Fame-asser, if those that don't particularly know the move, that's pretty much what it is. So Tony wins. Him and Dawson have the kind of good guy raise the arm of the loser raises the arm of the winner. Everyone seems to then go on their merry way, except we then have the guitar strains of Metallica's song, nothing else matters. Wright kind of stands in the ring, fully expecting Oberman to come out and do something, and he would be right. As Scott, in his Everton shirt, one that had me and my friend Lindsay, who isn't fellow Evertonian, so she is watching this. Hello. Oberman came out, clocks Wright with the adrenaline title, asks for the microphone. Oberman cuts a promo.
Tony, Frank, this is a mess that you made. I didn't want to do this. I stopped you from winning this once, and you won't let me live. I tried to be the peaceful one. You won't let it go. So instead of being the peaceful one, Tony Wright, I'll come to you now. That's what you want, right? There's your picture, Tony. Post it on your Instagram. Invite me to be a collaborator. I'll like, I'll share it. But just know, that's as close as you get. You'll get your match, but you don't get another shot if you lose.
For the Futureshock Adrenaline title. However, there now is a stipulation added to this contest. That stipulation being that if Tony wins, Tony Wright is the Adrenaline champion. However, if Scott defeats Tony, then Wright will never be able to challenge for the Adrenaline title ever again. So it's made that title match already more spicier than it was before. And talking about the rivalry, it comes across to me at least, this rivalry feels very much like back in 1998 when you had Triple H of DX, The Rock back in the Nation days, two kind of youngsters trying to make a name for themselves but being heads of like their own faction group. But when you put them against each other, the matches they had were always memorable, and every single time kind of they came face to face or they were involved in a match against each other, you always got excited and you always wanted to see more of it. The more this rivalry has grown and grown, it has gotten better, the story, as it's gone along. It does also help that this rivalry has kind of branched out to other companies, Atomic being one, because I do feel there's strong ties with Atomic and Futureshock, especially as they have had the Atomic title defended on a Futureshock. Equally, a Futureshock title has been defended technically on an Atomic show. So them two are possibly meeting at the Ken's Brewery in Liverpool, or the Content at Liverpool, on August 10th. But we will come to that down the road. First off though, this match, Oberman and Wright, out of all the matches that could possibly happen on the anniversary show, this is the one that I am looking forward to. At the moment, I would put this as the main event of the entire weekend, the show, I should say, because I feel like the the Futureshock Championship has not particularly felt like the top title, and it hasn't really felt like the top title for a long time now. I don't think it's felt like the main title in Futureshock since the anniversary show last year. Why? I mean, I could say it's, without trying to sound too thing, I don't think it's particularly been booked well, the heavyweight title, or the championship I should say, because it's not really a heavyweight title. But the adrenaline title, if you look back even to last May, I believe, when you had the whole rivalry with Lance Rivera and Chris Ridgway, and you had kind of Lee Dawson added in that mix, from that point to going forward, the adrenaline title has easily for me been the better title at Futureshock. Even though it seems like it's more not a mid-card title, but it's the workhorse title, much like the Intercontinental belt would be in WWE. So, moving forward with Scott and Tony, I think this could very well set up a interesting future, because I see both of these men being Futureshock champion down the road. Next on the agenda, because I will not particularly go in order here. So we had Romy Kendrick taking on Bryok Strong. This was an interesting match. At the time, it didn't really hit with me, and I'll tell you why. We had just come off the women's title match, which I will come to last. We then had like an interval, and I feel like you do need a bit of a fast-paced match to start the second half. Romy and Bright are two strong bulls, and I don't think having this match on first particularly helped. Was it a good match? At the time, I didn't think it particularly was a... How can I word this without sounding bad? It was a good match, but I don't think it did much. Then I thought about it more, and then I was thinking about the storylines. And Bryok Strong currently went most of last year being this kind of big game hunter, taking like items from certain people. You had Prince Pele losing a bit of his hair, which he still has, and Pele called him out, saying, "I hope you've been cleaning it because you're a weirdo." He took the towel off James Grayson, the headphones of the head coach in Sam Bailey, as well as his hair, and just genuinely Strong up until the anniversary show last year was, I'd say, the biggest heel they had. Maybe besides CP Riley, but that's a different thing. But it just, I mean, overall with Futureshock, I think it's almost been a bit of a reset that they've been missing. But I'm kind of going completely off topic here. But as I say, the story with Strong is he's found himself beating up opponents, dominating contests, and always seemingly coming out the wrong end. For one match being Matty Tucker a couple months ago, that was more like a back and forth, but Strong was the far more kind of that shaded that contest, if truth be told. But Tucker would take advantage and ended up winning. Strong then faces Romy Kendrick. Same thing happens here. Strong basically dominates Kendrick for the entire match. Has everything in hand. Looks on course to win. Then chooses to go on the top rope. Goes to hit like a swanton bomb. It does not pay off. Romy then grabs him. Hits a Michinoku driver. Gets the 1-2-3. Strong is left frustrated and annoyed to have lost the contest. I think they're going to do something with this. I do have an idea what they may go down, but a couple people know this already because I've explained to them. But it's going to be an interesting near upcoming future for what happens with the Hunter. We then had, originally should have been coach versus coach, and then got changed with Deck McCarthy saying he did not want to face Chris Ridgway. He was going to have one of his trainees do his dirty work for him. So we had Chris Ridgway taking on one of Deck McCarthy's trainees, which would be Aidan Tevlin. This was a entertaining contest, I think it's fair to say. Tevlin, who for the first few minutes of this contest, as you would expect, it kind of got beat up a bit. Ridgway seemed to take, not pity, but seemed to give him a fair bit of leeway. Tevlin, obviously with Death Wish, slapping the taste out of Ridgway's mouth. Ridgway standing there smiling like a Cheshire cat, which being in Stockport would pretty much be a perfect place to be smiling. But with that, it saw Ridgway then kind of going more away from being a coach and light-hearted to being all business. Just basically kicked and punished poor Aidan Tevlin. Tevlin, though, in his defence, put up a very good effort in this contest. But, of course, he would succumb to the one of the head trainers at Futureshock as Ridgway hit his traditional now brainbuster. Gets the 1-2-3. Ridgway wins. We then had, during this past week, the announcement that on the next show at End of the Line, which I think is either the 17th or the 19th of July, we were meant to have a lumberjack match between Chris Ridgway and Deck McCarthy. Sadly, that will not happen, as last weekend saw Chris Ridgway having a match, possibly at the Rev Pro show, might not have been, sustained a hairline fracture towards the neck and a sprain tear. Whatever, Ridgway is pretty much on the shelf for a while he hopefully gets better soon, recovers as quick as he can, because Ridgway in recent months has been on fire. Seems like everything was coming up Millhouse for him, and to have this happen, especially when he was due to be back at Progress this coming Sunday, it's a heartbreaker for him. So kind of speedy recovery to Chris Ridgway. Hopefully the the big man can get back in the ring as soon as possible. We then had another new debutant at Futureshock. This saw Leonie Rose taking on everyone's favourite karaoke singer, or Lana Oki singer, in obviously the best in Lana Austin. This was a fun match, it has to be said. Rose gave as good as she got. Austin, of course, being more the agitator, I suppose you can say, can at times flirt with being a good person, but deep down we both know she has a black heart. So she's not going to be fully a nice person. And I think deep down we all prefer the heel Austin. Does make me laugh when she will pick on kids, because I have a sick sense of humour. Had a go at one person, at one little kid, who, when she does pick on little kids and they fight back, I always love it. But shout out to this one little lad who would give it both barrels back, and I think caught her out, and I am positive she was corpsing at least 3 or 4 times because of his behaviour. The ones that were with him, I think, were trying to stifle their laughing as well. I do think that actually helped with this match, if truth be told. Because she obviously berate the crowd, but then she kind of had someone to channel her anger, so to speak. And this one little lad on the front, she constantly kept saying, "I'm going to hit this for you." He would then cheer more for Rose. Everyone got behind Rose, wanting her to kind of get the better of Lana. Though I think we all kind of want Lana to win because she's one of our own. But Rose, first time I'd ever seen her wrestle, but she was really good. I did enjoy watching her. Hit some nice moves on Austin. Equally, Austin hit some nice moves on Leonie. Lana would take victory, scoring the pinfall victory with a roaring forearm, and has put many people down with that move. After the match, grabs the foam finger of this one lad, ran out the door, threw it out the face. Little lad. Normally, when you do this to kids, they don't know how to react, and they just sit there with a confused look on the face, looking at the parents, whoever's with them. Not this lad. He stormed out to grab his finger, still berating Lana, coming back with a foam finger, and it made it so much funnier. And arguably, I think it helped the match even make it better, if truth be told. So Lana picks up the victory. Leonie Rose, as she was heading back through the curtain, got a really good applause from the crowd, with chants of "please come back." I would definitely love to see Leonie, I keep wanting to say Leona Lewis, Leonie Rose come back, because I think for the women's division, the two that have impressed me a lot have been Leonie Rose and Violet Knight, who I have seen at Bridgeboro, so I may have a bit of bias. But those two have kind of added something different to the Futureshock women's division when they've obviously wrestled on the shows. So that does always help to put a bit more meat, so to say, on the bone. Coming to our final 2 matches, and as Mr. Penciled in Mike would say, our penultimate match of the night, no, not particularly here, but on this, was for the Tag Team Championship. FTM, finely tuned machines, because some think it might stand for something else. Well, that could be, I had no idea. As they took on the Tag Team Champions in Forbidden Planet, Starkiller, Dave Birch, Steen. Go on, Steeny lad. This was a good contest. A bit clunky, maybe sloppy at times, but it still did the job. FTM still looked a very good, challenging side. Forbidden Planet looked like champions. The match itself was a really enjoyable one. We kind of saw the same things. We see high flying moves from Forbidden Planet. FTM, being the sly dogs that they are, kind of trying to be underhanded, or mostly Critchy, because let's be honest, it is always Critchy. We then saw a couple of new moves. Birch did one to the outside, where I think he did almost like a corkscrew to the outside, because it felt like they were kind of gone to the well too often with dives to the outside. They did something new, which was interesting at least. Did not particularly help them on this match. As the final moments, so FTM grabbing both title belts, Tom hitting Steen across the head on the outside, which pretty much saw him done for the match. In the ring, though, it saw Critchy and Tom McCall hitting a forearm to the back of the head / flatliner combo. Dave Birch, unfortunately, has his shoulders pinned for the 1-2-3. FTM are your new tag team champions in Futureshock. At the same time, we don't want FTM winning these titles, because I mean it's pretty much evident the bad guys. You don't want the bad guys winning, but there is a part of me that's kind of happy they've won. Might be because it's Tom, because I don't mind Tom. Tom's a nice lad. He's just mixed in with the wrong crowd. But yeah, new tag team champions. What this means for the tag division moving forward will be interesting, because what happens now with Forbidden Planet? Who are going to challenge FTM for the title? Will we get a rematch? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Pardon. And your main event, well, the main event of the show, really, and was the main event of the first half. Lily Winter defending her Futureshock Women's title against everyone's favourite, the Hot Topic, Holly Barlow. My God, this match ruled. I believe it went 24 minutes, and it did not feel 24 minutes at all. It was one of those matches that take you on a ride that you just do not want to get off on. It went up and down, Winter in control, Barlow in control. Rare time you get a match where you think you know who's going to win, and then they kind of like swerve you, and you think, oh right, they're going down this way, and they don't. They go the other way, and then they kind of flip and flip. Sometimes they can do that in a match, and it becomes kind of tiring. This didn't. It was such a good match, and now it's just come on their online service, so I will be watching this again. So the main things from this was Winter taking... She nearly took Barlow out for real. I shouldn't laugh. My apologies. There was an incident very early on the outside in front of where we were, where Lily, I think, either tried to throw Holly into the side of the ring, or she tried to throw it into the ring. Holly seemed to lose her footing and almost crashed face first into the ring apron. Not the top of it, the side. Completely seemed to lose her footing and hit her face on the ring. I think it definitely caught her by surprise. We were hoping she was okay. Thankfully she was. But it could have been a nasty little incident if that had been any worse. The match itself, Lily keeps thinking she has Holly beat. Barlow constantly refuses to give up. A fighting challenger, the underdog, I suppose you could say. We then saw Winter hauling up Barlow. Referee gets knocked down. Winter goes to get the title belt, throws it. Holly nearly hits a couple of us on the outside. Thank God the ring posts and the turnbuckles were there, or we would have got a face full of gold. But then it kind of continues. Winter then hits a skull-crushing finale on Holly on the belt, face first. She thinks that's going to be enough. Referee counts the 1, 2, 2.99. Winter cannot believe it. Holly then hits the Crossroads to not just win, but become your new Futureshock Women's Champion. This was such a good match. But Holly, for me, seems to just be having banger matches this year. Every match that I've seen her in, she's pretty much knocked it out of the park every time. Her match against Lizzie Evo to become the #1 contender was a hell of a match. The encounter she had against Lana Austin, just any match she's had this year, really, but especially the last few months, she's just raised that bar for me. So happy to see Holly winning gold, and a nice little kind of bow on this kind of rivalry, because if you recall, it was Lily that dragged Holly out of retirement at the anniversary show last year. Lily beat her, as I think Lily made her title defence, I believe, because she said she would take on a former champion. Holly, who was doing socials, took the brunt of the beating. In all fairness, it was a squash match, but from that point onward, Holly has kind of come back slowly, warmed up, and now is sizzling at the top, which would pretty much be the ideal thing, being the hot topic. But yeah, we have a new women's champion, and the outlook for Barlow as champion definitely looks a bright one. Covering this whole show, it's an interesting one, because a few of us thought the same thing. There were a few things that went on, like a few decisions that didn't particularly make any sense, because I will say this, and I know someone will be watching, and I do not mean this in any kind of criticism, even though it will come out as a criticism. We had, during the tag match, the referee counting I think he didn't get to 2, he got to 1 before saying they weren't the legal man. So why did you count? I know it's force of habit, but there were just a couple of things. But in fairness, the first half of the show seemed really good. The second half, I feel that women's title match took a lot out of everyone. Even though we had an interval, it never really seemed to get that kind of upward curve back. Possibly a couple of the match placements maybe didn't help either. But the show overall, it was a solid show. I can't particularly moan. Just lost a bit, I felt, in the second half of it. First half was good, second half kind of dropped a bit. But hey, it's not every show can have kind of be at that level constantly. And no doubt there'll be shows where it could easily be the opposite. It could be a sluggish start, finish high. It's one of those. It was a fun trip. That's all you need to know. Unfortunately, I will be missing the next Futureshock show because I have media duties on something I do. So unfortunately, I will not be there for End of the Line, which I think is at the Union in town. The show I always seem to miss because I've missed the last 2 there. The easiest one to get to for me, ironically. But yeah, Futureshock show, really good. Not going to give ratings because I can get trouble. So I will pass on that, but say it was an entertaining, solid show. So as we come to the second half of this episode, we now come to the bread shed in town for Catch Pro Wrestling New ART RIOT. This was for me the best show that I've seen for quite a while. Catch basically have just been putting out banger shows since they came back this year, and this was just another one of them. I think it is very much my favourite promotion. Definitely the Northwest scene, my favourite one. I'll kind of leave that there. Not getting in any trouble. And I know I've made comments where Atomic and Catch kind of have this ongoing rivalry because of me saying things I probably shouldn't say. I know it's all in jest, but you know, love wrestling. No matter what promotion, it's all fun. But yeah, let's look through what happened because there's a lot on this that really excited me. Any more excitement, I would have needed police. So, the first match we had was an open challenge from Gorgon, which was accepted by Bodak. There wasn't too much I can really add to this. There wasn't a whole lot in it, to be fair. I can't remember a whole lot about it. Both basically kind of went back and forth. For an opener, it was solid. I can't go any more than that. Gorgon won with I don't know how to describe it. It was like a double arm hook kind of driver DDT. it was an awkward looking move, if I can say that. Gorgon wins, obviously. Was helped by Joe of Damn It Vacant fame. His brother had come along because I believe it was his birthday weekend. So happy birthday again to him. So he was cheering for all the heels all night. Was quite humorous, it has to be said. He was cheering for Gorgon. I think he was the only one cheering for Gorgon, to be fair. But obviously, the Gorgon took victory in the opening match. Moving to the second match we had on the card, and it was the Enigma 6-man scramble. Effectively 5 out of the 6 that competed on the Enigma series. Ian Skinner was not there because he has been suspended by Catch Pro management for his trying to interfere during the final round of matches, which saw him trying to interfere in the Tony Wright Chris Ridgway match. So Catch management decided to suspend him, which led him to making an apology of sorts to Catch and everyone in it. So we had, obviously, from that tournament, the leading man Tony Wright, Aiton Steen, Troy Ryan, Tom Farewell, Dynamite Lee Dawson, and the final member that was thrown into this 6-man scramble was the Cyber Slayer in Joe Kessler. Kessler being added to this match made it even more better, I felt. As we kind of saw a coalition between Kessler and Farewell. It started off, though, pretty much with everyone just attacking Tom, it felt. Then it just kind of very quickly got out of hand. Everyone got the moves in. Ryan and Kessler ended up on the outside. Ryan tried to throw Kessler into the wall. Kessler avoided it, but would eventually get thrown into the wall, being thrown into it, not launched like he does to everyone else. Kessler and Ryan then proceeded to fight into the back, and as Catch have now put out, saw the two fighting in the streets of Manchester and needed to be pulled apart. So I feel something is going to come of that at the big Hoss tournament in September. See if I'm right. Meanwhile, going back into the ring, we still had 4 men in Tom, Tony, Aiton and Dynamite Lee. Lee looking kind of hitting all his explosive moves, pardon the pun. Tom being Tom, getting chance of donkey from the vocal section of Catch Pro, I think it's fair to say. Aiton Steen hitting big flying moves. Tony Wright just almost being the sensible one out of them all. I think that's one way to put it. But the dying moments of this encounter saw Tom Farewell basically getting in ref Liam's face, pushing the referee. Again, Tom has a habit of rubbing the referees the wrong way. He did the same with James Greenwood. On this occasion, he pushed Liam. Liam pushed Tom back, and in doing so, saw Wright rolling him up for the 1-2-3. Tom's face was an absolute picture, thinking, what the hell has just happened. He did not like at all that Liam put his hands on him. By the rules, you shouldn't put a hand on a wrestler. At the same time, if you're being a dick and you shove someone, you should be prepared to get pushed back. And obviously, him doing that led to him going on to lose. So, what does this mean for Tom going forward? Especially as he said, if he isn't treated with respect in Catch Pro, he will target people's favourites in the company. So I suspect we may see some devious actions from Tom moving forward. Don't quote me on that though. But obviously a win for Tony Wright. Is this now the springboard that the leading man needs in Catch Pro to get his career going? Much like he said at the last show, at Days of Catch, he has done everything elsewhere, but at Catch Pro he's not particularly got going. Hopefully this scramble match now will be that one thing that propels him into the main event scene at Catch, so we will have to wait and find out. We then had a tag team match featuring Leah Raven, the Empress of Anarchy, and Lily Winter, taking on the Scottish duo of Angel Hayes and Moxie Malone. I won't say PC, because that would be the wrong term to use, but the banter of the vocal support against the two Scottish girls was, I think it's fair to say it was give and take. Hayes and Malone gave it to them and they gave it right back. Plus the amount of people doing Scottish accents and just some of them being borderline with some of the comments is a whole different thing. I will say it was all good-natured banter. There was nothing over the top. Thank God. It was just very much kind of anti-Scottish, but in a light-hearted way is the best way to describe it. This contest, I really enjoyed this contest, really. Hayes and Malone being obnoxious heels, bad-mouthing everyone, flipping the finger at people, just having a go at the referee, which was fun. Just the whole match I really enjoyed, in fairness. It was one of the matches I was looking forward to, and so it didn't really disappoint. Leah Raven taking the brunt of the offence from Hayes and Malone. Winter comes in, looking to try and help her team out. Things then kind of break down. And the end of the match saw Leah Raven hitting her Rebellion DDT off the middle rope on Angel Hayes to get the 1-2-3 for her side. I really like this match. I think a few people will not remember it because it might not have had like high spots and things like that. I really enjoyed the match. It was one of my favourites of the night. Again, I'm really hoping that they can bring Hayes and Malone back because they were really good and I could very happily watch them again. They were so... As opposed to some wrestlers that don't want to kind of get involved with the crowd, these two were the most vocal I can recall with a crowd that were like female wrestlers. The only one I can recall was Lucy Sky, which we will come to in a wee bit. But I really enjoyed this match. And that's really all I have to say about that, in fairness. So, we come to the main event of the first half for the catch weight title. The wettest man in professional wrestling, in the UK at least, in Scotty Rourke. He defended his title against the man from Czechia in Vusic. And my God, this was good. The most hard-hitting, at times stomach-churning, but one for the sickos, I think it's fair to say. I love this match. Vusic is very much one of the technical wizards you will see. Hits hard, loves to bend and manipulate a joint anyhow he can do, whether it be the arm, the leg, the neck, the ankle, anything that's got a joint, he will try and manipulate. Scotty Rourke is pretty much a balls out wrestler. Does not care how he beats you. Will take chances. Will happily put his body on the line against you. And it just made for two great wrestlers fighting for the title. And at the same time, you even forgot it was for the title because of how good this match was. And as we recall, a couple months ago, these two men met and went to a time limit draw. On that occasion, it saw Rourke wanting a triple threat match against Vusic and Kessler. Unfortunately, Vusic was ill, so he wasn't able to participate. Rourke won that match against Kessler to win the title. So Rourke now defended his first defence of the title was against Vusic. And what a title defence it was. Vusic basically tortured Rourke. I think that's the best way to put it. Even kicks from Rourke to Vusic hurt like hell. It was... When the match is uploaded, I implore you to watch this. It was cinema. Pure cinema. Rourke took victory in this contest though with a black mass kick, or pretty much like a black mass kick that put Vusic down. Didn't feel like that was going to how we end things, but to do that from nowhere, it did make a bit of sense. Really love this match. I definitely hope we see him go again because I'm sick in more ways than one. We then, when we started the second half, had the catch women's title and saw Lucy Sky making her first defence of the title against Holly Barlow, fresh from her Futureshock title win the night before. Again, this was a really fun match to watch. Lucy Sky, who is a heel here, and the more I see her now as a heel, the more I actually love her because she is so good as a heel. Most places I've ever seen her, she's kind of the... I won't say a good girl, but that could be a wrong way. She's normally the baby face. I'll say that because it makes it better. But to have her as the heel here, and her just talking to the crowd, giving the finger to everyone. I've only seen her heel once elsewhere, and had me in stitches off the page like last year. So funny. But at the same time, I don't think she was meant to have been funny. But I think the decision not to have Winter as champion and put the title on Sky, I think makes so much sense. Because obviously Lizzie Evo was a champion, had the title stripped from her, so you do want the babyface to kind of chase the heel for the title, and having Lucy now as the champion, I think is going to be so much fun for anyone that kind of really puts up a challenge for her. I just really love the women's division in catch. In fairness, but then I am a big fan of the women's division in all promotions, because I actually think they're a bit better than a lot of the male divisions, if truth be told. My hot take there for you. But this match, again, Holly just having banger matches with Lucy, surprised me so much that this was the first ever meeting between the two. I couldn't believe that. Both of them worked really well, some good chemistry. Holly being the sympathetic babyface, Lucy being the loud, obnoxious heel, worked on so many levels. Unfortunately, we were not to have Holly 2 belts over the weekend, as Lucy Sky picked up victory with, I believe, the big knee to the face, and the crumble complex that Holly has is outstanding. There are certain people that can make a move look more devastating than it needs to be or it can be, and the crumble complex that Holly has is in line with some of those people. Just the whole thing of when she takes these hits. Sky obviously wins the match, defends her title. What we get now with Lucy moving forward, we don't know. Could we see possibly Winter put in another challenge? Again, we'll have to wait and see down the line. Oh God! Now we have 2 matches left. The penultimate match of the night saw the Enigma Series final best 2 out of 3 falls contest between Scott Oberman and Chris Ridgway, former and current Northwest Strong faction stablemates. Mates is probably the wrong term, but former faction members clashing. If you have not seen the videos to the lead up for this with Ant the editor, the work that Ant does is out of this world. He is one of the best in British wrestling anywhere for me. The videos he put together for this, the interviews with Oberman and Ridgway, the kind of emotional displays, and it's one of the rare times I've watched a promo video and it has got me. Oberman's video, if you get a chance to see it, is so good. Honestly, it's so good. Ridgway's equally. Both of them grab you and told you the whole story of why this meant so much, and went back in history, moving forward. I just really love this. The whole everything, the whole package, the promos, this match, everything I just loved. and I will not be. Yes. Right. Alexa, stop. Just everything with this, I loved. So, obviously being 2 out of 3 falls, I can immediately hear Andy Ogden from Graps and Claps going mad, going, we know what the scoreline's going to be. Yeah, we pretty much did. We all knew it was going to end 2-1. But even so, it was still so much fun. I can't tell you how much I love this match. So the first fall went the way of Chris Ridgway, who, dear God in heaven, beat the shit out of Oberman. Kicks, chops, pretty much kicks to him. If this had been any like a normal match, people probably would have submitted way before. Oberman just basically got the crap kicked out of him in the first fall. Second fall saw Oberman turning the tables, beating up Ridgway, hitting a tombstone on the stage area on a pile of chairs, got him into the ring, got the 1-2-3 to tie it up at 1-1, setting up a third and deciding fall. And honestly, there's so much that happened in this match I can't describe. It was the kicks, it was everything that went into it. Oberman basically kind of began to torture Ridgway, hitting the most aggressive and sort of ugly looking spears. And I say ugly as in how they kind of like go into them. Like devastating is probably the word I mean. Devastating spears. Ridgway looked like he was going to take the third fall, or going to suffer. Managed to turn things around with his now infamous dragon screw, which we always know is going to come eventually. Working the legs of Oberman. Oberman pretty much just beat Ridgway up, and it was effectively a brawl from that point. It was one of the best wrestling matches I have seen. I currently have it at number 1 this year in all the matches I've seen. We then had Ridgway looking like he was going to throw Oberman through chairs. Oberman reversed it and hit a tombstone on the apron, only getting a 2 count. Ridgway then put Oberman in a ankle lock. Again, one of those matches where you do not know who was going to win. I mean, a few fought Oberman, a few fought Ridgway, went back and forth so many times, but not in a kind of draining, just overcomplicating it. It was everything you wanted in this match. The story behind it as well. Both of them not wanting to give in to the other kind of Northwest Strong member, or ex-member as is for Oberman. Both wanted to kind of outdo the other, show that they were the best wrestler. And in the end, it saw Oberman hitting a spinning tombstone after hitting the Ride the Lightning. My God, I can't compliment this anymore. Honestly, when it is uploaded, this is one of the best matches I've seen. Oberman takes victory, wins the Enigma Series final, is now the number one contender for the catch weight title. So him and Scotty Rock will get it on down the road. Again, this is one of my favourite matches this year. Not even the bias of me being an Oberman fan, a massive Chris Ridgway fan. There's not many matches that tell a story. This told a story and more. Honestly, it is hands down the best match I've seen this year. And I have been to a lot of different promotions and saw some great matches. But this, hands down, outranks every single one of them. And it will take a hell of a lot to shift this from number one for me. But yeah, I think after that match, I think everyone wanted a cigarette, just how good it was. And we then came to the main event of the evening for the GMAC title, that being the Greater Manchester Athletic Council, I believe. No, the Greater Manchester Athletic Commission title. I knew I'd get it right eventually. So Brady Phillips defending his title against Big T Justice. This was bonkers. Phillips pretty much came right at Big T from the start. Did everything he could to try and pick up an early win. Decided to go full feng shui, putting chairs out on the outside, folding them all up, putting them outside, threw Big T into him, or he wanted to throw Big T into him, got reversed and saw Phillips being dropped into him. Eventually Big T would get thrown in, covered in chairs, and in a kind of Frankenstein monster way, Big T threw the chairs out, almost hitting me in the shin, and saw Big T rising up, getting in the ring, taking it to Brady Phillips, looking like he was on course to win the title. Phillips, of course, being the shithouse that he is, would take a few kind of backhanded ways to get out of it. But you have to say that Phillips is a great heel. There's not many heels I can think of in any promotion that generates genuine hate like Brady can, which makes matches so much more fun. As it went on, he just looked to pick apart Big T. Despite the size difference, of which is quite a size difference, Phillips made it so believable that Big T was in so much trouble. Because sometimes when you have like the height difference, the smaller wrestler will do like certain things to the tall wrestler, and you almost feel like, yeah, but that's not really going to happen, or that's too obvious. Phillips in his attacks, going for like the ribs and just going for like the legs and everything, it made so much sense what he was doing. Big T was in trouble. It looked like he was possibly going to lose. We then had obviously Big T fighting back, would prevail in this contest, hitting a big kind of swinging slam. I'm trying to remember or find what the name of the move is. I do think I know it, but I cannot remember because I'm not that great with moves. Apologies. But Big T is your new Greater Manchester Athletic Commission champion. cut a promo after the show about Brady Phillips. I will not say what he said, but I agreed with everything he did. It was, I mean, as good. It was never really going to overtake the Oberman Ridgeway match. This felt very much in a similar vein of Austin and Kane at King of the Ring 98 after Mankind and Undertaker, or Randy Orton and Triple H against. Triple H and Randy Orton after the Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania match. No matter what they did, it was never going to outdo what we had seen previous. They still had a really good match, still told a good story, was still one of the most enjoyable on the card. Nothing really on this card kind of missed fully. Everything was superb. As I say, I love Catch Pro Wrestling. I will shout it from the rooftops. It is my favourite promotion, I will say that. If I was to give this a rating, going off what we have discussed in pencils, I would give this a good 4 out of 5. Because it was that good. No, you know what? Sod it. 4.8 out of 5. And I would probably put this as the best show I've seen this year. Possibly recently biased. But despite all that, it was a great show. Of the two shows I saw, this was the better one by far. Nothing against Futureshock. They will have better shows. Not bad-mouthing them at all. But Catch just has something different, which is so much fun. My voice is going obviously now because I've been talking for nearly an hour and a half. So, but again, banger of a show. After the show, I got my new Holly Barlow shirt. Had a little chat with her. Discussed why I am called Petter, which I probably feel she didn't really need to know, but bless her for listening anyhow. It's always great to kind of chat to some of the wrestlers. Had Ref Liam surprise the hell out of me because I didn't know he was talking to me. Told me that he listens to the show, so hello, Referee Liam. Always nice to hear this show get some love. I'll be honest, the shows are a lot better when it's not just me, because I've said it before, I am not that great doing them on my own. It is so much easier and better when you bounce off others. And I will die on that hill saying it. But as I say, this has been a fun little trip down memory lane for me. Obviously, this weekend we have two shows. Well, two shows I'm doing at least. And we will probably look at two of the three, or all three, when we get a chance to sit down and record. One being Friday night for me, as I head down to good old Brizzle in Bristol to take in Evolution Pro Wrestling. That is for the burning down this. I will remember what it's called. I will cut that. But anyhow, I'm going to Bristol to watch the all women's card there. I'm so excited for that card. A couple have been announced. I will leave that there because we'll probably talk about it tomorrow. We also have Infamous at the Runcorn Masonic Hall. That is where I believe Nikki and Mike will be. And on Sunday is Progress at the O2 Ritz in Manchester, where the entire Penciled In Case family will be there. And that card looks so good. Apart from the fact we now have no Chris Ridgway, which is a bummer, the card is still stacked. It's such a fun looking card. The replacement for man like Doris's opponent will be an interesting one. There was already chat in Nikki's Discord over it. Possibly this time tomorrow we might know a bit more. But other than that, I will leave it there because I feel I've spoken too much and I have to edit this. So, good enough reason to stop. But yeah, thank you for watching or listening, whichever method you're choosing to join us. Hopefully there will be another episode. If not, we will be back next week. If not, a couple of days time. But for me, Producer Petter, again, thank you so much for listening. If you do have any questions or you would like to just send anything to the Pencil In podcast, you can always drop us a message on the socials, Penciled In or Penciled In Nikki, spelt Nik, or you can send it to Petter Brads or Petter Bradders. I should know my own handle, but I don't. Just go on Penciled In, and you'll find us there. But for now, have a very good evening, or morning, or afternoon, no matter what day it is. And we will see you real